Peace and blessings, y'all. This is your boy Gerald. It is Saturday, the 6th of February 2016. How is each and every one of y'all doing? So, you know what I'm doing, right? I'm burning some sage for you because I know that some of you have had a hard 48 hours. That's right. I feel your energy. You were sliding on the back end of your week, navigating as best you could, and then bam, all of a sudden there's that dilemma. Looking at you with such vigor, saying, what are you going to do now? You thought that because you allowed some time that things would just fade away. And it's got you shook because what is being required is truth. Because I don't have to tell you, you already know as we evolve, we are still the same person. The only thing different is the wisdom that we have been granted to receive. This comes by way of experience. This comes by way of truth. But sometimes the truth is manifested through actions not of our own. And that can be very disturbing to some of us when we think that we've got it all under control. Come on, y'all. What do I always say? Nothing happens by chance because your legacy was already written. And the thing about it is, the more and more you try to fight against the momentum of your life, the more and more conflict, confusion, and delay that comes with it. Because we want to be the captain of our destiny, but we fail to realize that that has an impact overall on our legacy. That's why it's very important that you unconditionally love yourself. So you're in the beginning of your week, y'all, and I hope that it finds you well. And if you're in a position where it is not, just know that it's just for a moment, y'all. I understand that some of us may be in the midst of their spiritual storm, and you're dealing with uncertainties and upheavals and downright despair. You feel that you're alone. You feel that you are on the verge of losing your mind. Let me tell you something. You are priceless, and what is being revealed is all the things that were your distractions, that did not validate who you were, that covertly found access to your life knowingly or by control. So you gotta understand something, y'all. The greatest gift God ever gave you was unconditional love, mercy. But He gave us that for ourselves. That's why no two diamonds are the same. And when you look at your life, there'll never be another you. That's why it's important to fortify and ground your feet. But see, I understand, y'all, because you have so many people today that are on their roads, on their journeys, and their interpretation of life may be foreign to you. However, there are also some that have already made a conscious decision long ago that they didn't want to take the road less traveled. They'd already signed off to honor the world. So you got to understand, the devil's work is never done, and it'll never be done. And his sole purpose is to lead you away from the things that bring you protection. That's what God is trying to get you not to fall prey on. However, it is your responsibility to ground your feet. It is your responsibility to understand what being vulnerable is. So you're not going to find vulnerability on your back. You're not going to find it looking in the eyes of a stranger. You're not going to find it obtaining something that you rightfully did not earn. These things are all temporary, but these are all spiritual doorways to pain not yours. So there's a choice in that. The choice is, do you see your value in your life? Or do you see a position of playing the martyr? You know what's kind of ironic? Hold on one second. Give me 20 seconds, because what you don't see is I got my man Tyson. He's out here and he's feeling himself right now, and I don't feel like acting out of pocket because he is doing some things he knows he should not be doing. That's right. Don't look at me now. Yeah, that's right. You're busted. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in the kennel, and I'll be right back. Give me 20 seconds. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. Don't run away now. Yeah, you know you wrong. Well, it took longer. It didn't take long. All right, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. So, yeah, the moment that you start to become aware, that's when the spiritual battle begins. But what you don't realize, the spiritual attack began the moment you took your first breath. That's why some of you had childhoods play out the way they did. Maybe you were reared in a family where mama did not love you. She had no bones about letting you know. And the fact that you may have gotten the brunt of emotional abuse, physical abuse, because of the fact that when you looked in the mirror, you saw your father. I know I'm talking to someone. It's not by chance that you see the favoritism there, but that's okay though, because I heard something the other day, and I have to give credit where credit's due. See, as I'm channel surfing, excuse me, just so happened Joel Osteen was on, right? And as I was surfing through, because you know God makes a way when there is no way, and He makes sure you hear and see the things that you need for your life at the intended time and moment, because He doesn't squander time. He doesn't squander that because He knows. He already knows your attention span. He knows if I don't get it when I need to get it at the pivotal moment. Some of y'all are just good for a good 15 seconds. Somebody starts to talk to you, you already turn the volume down. But guess what? He loves you so much. He doesn't know what the meaning quit is. He doesn't know the meaning defeat. He doesn't know what it is to compromise. That's why everything that is ordained for your life will be scrutinized, will be fought for. Because see, the battle is a spiritual battle, but the effects are always felt physically and emotionally. That's why we are what we attract. To get back to my point, as I was channel surfing through, because we've got 300 channels, I'm a subscriber file, so pretty much you just feed off of whatever's there. So to get to the point I was saying, he made a point of saying that God does not make mistakes, and he supplies you the things you need. He doesn't give you more than is required because he is the grand architect of your life. But how ironic that we are as human beings that we feel that we have to go beyond the call of duty. We have to do over the amount instead of preserving what we have. That's why the Bible says your body is a temple. It never said that your temple would not have some flaws in the foundation. It never said that your temple would have issues with security. Never said that. It said the foundation, which is you, you're given that right because you breathe. You exist. So it's your responsibility as human beings to fortify you because no one can do your work. But I understand. I got a queen right now thinking, she's saying, well, Joe, you say that every video. You know why I say that? It's for the intended heart and mind. Maybe this message is for you. Maybe you're embracing a behavior you know darn well if the windows to your living situation was exposed, you would not lift your head because you are embarrassed of it because secretly you're living a lie. My point is this. There's are 50% of the world's population, right, will never scratch the surface for their lives. Do you realize that? We are tentatively 7.6 billion people on this planet, and half will never know who they really are. They will never be able to have access to what genuinely being loved because they don't love themselves. They won't understand what it is to feel emotionally safe. And unfortunately, their dreams and aspirations will never come into fruition. That's pretty messed up when you think about it, because that's a wasted life. That's a wasted purpose. That's a wasted opportunity to inspire someone, because you got to understand part of your purpose in being on the planet is to inspire and educate someone else. That's why we have a testimony. That's why we go through sacrificing. Oh yeah, you you don't think because you look in the mirror and you see this person that is beautiful. Now let me correct you real now. Let me just put this in perspective. Everybody's beautiful in their own way. But the ironic part is you have some people that are so insecure that they let the barometer of social standards define their beauty, when in actuality your beauty is found inside you. That's why when you see that when you run across that handsome man, as soon as he opens his mouth, it sounds like garbage. because what you're witnessing is the spirit. You run across that woman that is stunning, and then within the 30 seconds, you can tell she's the most brokenest person you've ever met in your life. It's because they don't know who they are. They live their lives like they're going down the yellow brick road. And even in The Wizard of Oz, it wasn't until Dorothy decided to go within herself, to love herself, to reflect, to see her worth, could she go home. Home was inside her. That's why, unfortunately, we live in an era where covert means and backdoor deals and social media has such a footing in life. You have the tutorial to disrespect yourself. Do you realize how much social prostitution is going on, y'all? Self-exploitation is going on right now. Think about it. How many times you didn't scratch your head and you say, well, you know what? This young boy right here pushing a $150,000 car. He ain't even out of high school. You would think logically that don't add up. Either A, that's his parents' car. B, he's stepping out there and he's wanting to aspire in a retirement program that will never yield return by being a hustler. Or C, there's some self-exploitation going on because there's some physical exchange through sexual means. But yet seems like no one gives a damn anymore. Excuse my French. Seems like if I don't see anything in any return up front, I'm not going to care. But actually, those things impact us. So what's going on right now? What's the big topic right now? I'm not talking about the buffoonery we know as the primary. Hot button topic right now is the water issue in Flint, Michigan. I spoke on this before. Just so happened right now, Flint, Michigan is the catalyst. Eyes of the world are looking at Flint, Michigan. But what a lot of people don't realize is this is not just a Flint, Michigan issue. Stop scratching your head and thinking that's isolated. Think back when you went to that family member's house, maybe your grandma's house, maybe your auntie, maybe your girlfriend that just moved into that apartment that has been around but had multiple facelifts because they still can yield revenue from the structure. You never see this. You never see when they do a remodel job, you see them ripping out the pipes. And most pipes are made of what? Copper. And what comes from copper over a period of time? Lead. Through filtrations over periods of time, calcium deposits. Doesn't matter how much fluoride they put in the system. That's just like putting bleach in your water. It's still not clean. They know that. Come on, think about it. But they also know that it comes with a price. If people started to sit down and say, well, you know what? Maybe I should test my water too. You realize how many class action lawsuits would be flying around? There'd be millions of them. And they also know that, hey, you have some that say, well, hey, out of sight, out of mind, and population control. So now we're living in an era now that children being raised of all time, of all, man, my mouth is not working. Dealing with ADD, dealing with uh, delayed syndrome is becoming more common. Why? Goes back to that temple, y'all. Goes back to that fortification. Think about it. Say, unbeknownst to you, you started going into the club scene early. You might have been that person that used to have that fake ID. You might have had them friends that, okay, we can't get in the club, but we're gonna get some alcohol, we're gonna ride around, which is just as dangerous. And we're gonna get lit. You might even have parents that will say, well, you know what? Because I love you, I'd rather for you to do it in front of me than not from me. Okay. Fast forward 25 years. And all of a sudden now you want to be a parent, you want to have children. And then unfortunately, things are not so well. So you gotta understand something, y'all. It goes back to that temple. You give all 23 chromosomes, your mate gives off 23 chromosomes, the creative blessing. Well, guess what? You never hear anybody saying, hey, let me check your DNA. How healthy is your DNA? You never hear nobody talk about that. You don't see anybody doing a battery of tests before conceiving a child. You don't never hear that. He more worried about the prenup than the health of the child. I know I'm talking to someone, but never did he take in consideration the behaviors he had before. See, there is a proverb that you see play out all the time, and I'm surprised people hadn't taken note. Do you think it's ironic that you see a man that was straight trifling? Trifling. Now he's going off of what he was exposed to and given the tools of this is what manhood's all about. Because you got some that think that, hey, procreation defines your legacy. Nah, that's just a slither. And it seems like every time a child is conceived, the birth yields a girl. And at first, it's kind of shook. But as long as it counts to 10 fingers, 10 toes, we're going to be all right. Next thing you know, time progresses, and then another child is conceived. Birth, another girl. 10 toes, 10 fingers. He said, okay, I got two girls, but I long to have a son because I want someone to carry on the family name. But then you see this. You see those guys out there, and they produce nothing but girls. You know why that plays out? That is divine intervention going on, y'all. Plain and simple. Because the woes of the father will be the lessons to the child. No different than a person that lives a position of hatred. Oh, your father was a straight up racist. Stuff used to stick his chest out, puff it out like a superhero, only to spew evil. And the same thing that was forged by fear becomes the love affair of his child. That's right. That's right, y'all. Think about it. Daddy didn't want to have nothing to do with minorities, but his baby girl, his princess, brings home Charlie. And Charlie represents everything that mother or papa detests. That's divine intervention. It's to teach you what not to do. Plays out like that. It's going to continue to play out like that because there's a battle for you. And society is trying so hard to justify the things they can't explain by making false labels. Well, things are happening because we got a polar vortex and sounds good on TV, doesn't it? But come on now. So now, instead of being a champion to you, there's a lot of concessions going on. You got people saying, well, you know what? Because I'm gonna hold that thought right now. I want to make this point real quick. Okay, another hot topic going on. You got the guy out there in New York that got the stock program, got the stocks, got that medical company that has the patents to the AIDS vaccine, the medicine for those who suffer from HIV. For those who don't know, there's a guy out there. I'm not even gonna butcher the dude's name. It's all on the news right now. Um, he had to go before Congress, and he invoked his Fifth Amendment rights. And for those who don't understand, when you invoke your Fifth Amendment rights, it's for prevention of self-incrimination or any questions asked. But by choosing that route, he was already self-incriminating himself because he could have easily just answered the questions. Instead, he puffed his chest out and took a position of denial and control. Because, see, while the world was looking at this hearing, he had this smug smirk on his face because he knew my mouth can't work. Subsequently, he was still in control of the situation. He just was not in control of the forum. But don't you realize when you ground your feet and speak your truth, anything that's meant for your life, you're a champion of it. So this guy turned around, made a position to say, well, you know what, I'm not answering none of your questions. But because of the fact that I got charges pending. I'm just going to meet you halfway and show up. Worst thing he could ever done. So they tried to come with a position of empathy to let him understand, like, hey, what about those people that can't afford your prescription? What about that mother that needs this and she has to rely on her health to maintain her family? With a smug smirk, he invoked his Fifth Amendment rights. Now, granted, he had a position to do such as that. But ethically, if there was any honor about his positioning, he could have easily just answered the questions. But he chose not to because he knew in the back of his mind, he knew he still had control and the government couldn't do anything about it. But what we were seeing really was a narcissist. Oh, yes, you could see the ego and pride and disposition of this man. And you could tell that whatever his hangups was in his childhood became the motivations and the drives for him to succeed. And he was using that as a means to control. But the Bible says it best. Pride cometh before the fall. And there's a reason why we're seeing this play out, y'all, because we're all to take note and learn, because in the intended time and moment, he too is going to fall. And it's not going to be pretty. Now, I'll be the first one. I don't wish bad on no one, but I also understand that you have one life to live. And when it's all said and done, you have a legacy that will leave its mark. And why would you want to be infamous when you can be honored? But see, we live in a world, y'all, that people walking around willfully with price tags on their backside. They've already sold their souls. And they think that because I turn around and I rub elbows with you and you show me a doorway and that doorway will make opportunity through him, that it will be the justification for the sacrifice. Little do you know, it is actually will become your blocks. Because those are spiritual seeds that you are planting, you're cultivating, and eventually that harvest is going to come. And it will be more than you're willing to pay. I know somebody right now, you don't like the weekend. You said, well, why would you say that, Gerald? Because they know that when the weekends come, they got a role that they have to fulfill. They have a position they got to play. And it makes their skin crawl. I know I'm talking to someone. You know that on this day, you're going to have to put some work in that you ain't proud of. You're going to have to play with the strings that are attached to your life because you made a willful choice. But guess what? No matter how and what is revealed, the moment that you are able to be transparent and vulnerable with yourself, that is the moment your connection with God will begin. That is where the strings will fall off from you. That is where the things that were your blocks. I know there's some of you right now, you dread going home because as soon as you turn that door, the reality and the mask fall off because you know that the real you is waiting on you. and you're just waiting to exhale. And you just been running and running and running and running, and you can fool them, but you can't fool that heart. You think that because you have your heart aches, but your organs hurt, and you try to convince yourself and motivate yourself just one more day. I just got to hold this up one more day and I can get it through. But little do you know, tomorrow never comes. It keeps getting heavier. The burden becomes even more. And you try to reinvent yourself. You say, well, maybe I'll try this because I didn't try that. Maybe this will be the answer to my prayers. Well, guess what? Those prayers don't get heard until you decide to submit. That's just like trying to make a phone, just like trying to make a phone call on a cell phone that is disconnected. You can try all you want, but it's not gonna get through. You know why that occurs, y'all? Because that's the protection of the real you. That's right. That's what's at stake. That's the battle. See, the real you got the blessings, got the joy, got the happiness, got the peace of mind. Some of y'all wish that's what you always desire, to have a restful night sleep so you could just generally just drift off without any worries, without any disturbance, not hearing the arguments, not seeing the nightmares, not walking in denial. And you say to yourself, when will it end? I never thought I'd end up where I am now. Did God forsaken me? No, God didn't forsake you. You forsake yourself. You allowed the devil to give you what you wanted. You gotta remember, y'all, that's what manifestation is. Because you don't speak it from your mouth, if you entertain it in your mind, it will reveal itself. That's how the devil works. That's why I know I make light of it, but it's the truth. You say, I wish I had a man that would just give me security. I want a man that will give me security. And then voila, there he is. But he don't love you. He treats you like a piece of meat. He likes sticking things in your rectum. I know I'm talking to someone, but he convinces you, hey, that's the it thing to do. Why you think that you have to be cautious on the audience that you keep, queens? I ain't got to remind you that. Listen to the music. So now you got people walking around embracing behaviors of sodomites. Little do you know, little Johnny, that's the pedophile, is clapping for you. Because he's hoping that you do get turned out. But really, the devil wants you just to turn away. So guess what? I'm going to keep giving you those distractions. That's what the devil's thinking. He said, oh yeah, she wants flash. Oh yeah, he wants that Coke bottle girl right there. Uh-huh. Yeah, that stunner. But that's exactly what she is. She's a stunner to stun you from your path. Come on, man. Think about it. If these people genuinely had your best interest, why do you cry so much? Why are you drinking so hard? Why are you willfully giving your body to the first hello? He don't even know your middle name, but yet he knows your sex drive. But see, society has convinced women to embrace feminism. And oh yeah, I'm gonna go there. Because you know a true feminist don't believe in God. She believes in herself and takes measures in her own, only to inherit and attract more pain. You think that's supposed to be your walk? And I know somebody's saying, well, Gerald, ain't nobody gave me nothing. I had to scratch and scrape to obtain what I had. And I guarantee you, when you look back, look at the lies and deals behind closed doors that gave you the false platform that you have. That's why you're so weary right now. I know I'm talking to somebody. You wrestle with the fact that you say, well, I'm tired of putting this makeup on. I want to wear my hair the way I really want to wear it, but if I do, I won't be accepted. Hello, those ain't your friends. Those ain't your friends. Those are nothing but cogs in the wheel of your despair. That's right, Kings. You mad at her because she ain't got time for you. Unless your pockets are full. Oh, she knows you then. And she knows exactly how to maneuver you from your work, only to start all over again. Do you not see the correlation in that? What separates what you're engaging with than the common stranger that stops on the street and picks up Charlene? Because at least Charlene is emotionally checked out. That's why she has that drug habit. But she knows, because the fact that she is physically made a female, she can become an ATM. But don't you realize everybody touches an ATM and everybody don't care? I know that needs to go out to someone. You're dreaming about your happy ever after. You have it in your mind with such detail, but yet the reality is that ain't the life you living. You say to yourself, that ain't nothing but a piece of paper. But see, I've come to learn this too. 40% of the women on this planet that choose to be married don't marry for love. They marry for security. That's the truth. And then out of that 40%, 15% do marry for love, but won't invest in it because they use the archetypes of what is played out on reality TV as a template to navigate their lives. I know I'm talking to someone. You mad because he won't even give you time of day to sit down and have a conversation. The only conversation you get is when he pulls the condom off. I know I'm talking to someone. Don't you realize what's at stake? Your self-worth. So when are you going to strap those boots on? When are you going to fight for yourself? When are you going to make a conscious decision to fall back in love with yourself? Let me tell you something, Queen. If you think for 1 second that your physical prowess, your physical self is going to give you the dreams, the things of your dreams, let me let you know, it won't, because there's this thing called time. And what will come about it is your essence, your spiritual essence, your physical essence will be taken. And you'll be robbed from it. It won't be protected. It won't be honored. That's why so many of you can't look yourself in the mirror and be truthful to yourself, because you know that the night before, all you wanted was someone to understand you. All you wanted was someone to show compassion and give you that hug. And what happened? You got a sore throat now, don't you? Your backside is on fire. And you say it to yourself once again, I'll never let that occur. Well, let me tell you something. When are you going to stop lying? When are you going to stop lying? When are you going to be honest with that little girl inside you? Because I'm going to tell you what, the people in your circle are banking that you won't. They got you figured out. And like, oh, she's in her feelings. This is all I got to do. Let me go ahead and get her this. She'll be all right. And more the disrespect, more and more the trinkets come. And then you got that one that said, well, you know what? I'm going to hit her with the slam dunk, and this should be good. And you know that you're fighting with yourself, because you know that you don't deserve that. You deserve more. The things that are priceless, the things you can't find in the store, the things you can't find on that dealership. Don't you realize you treat your life like a high-end car? The moment that it hits the street, the depreciation began. But the moment that you sat in it, the value for you, your stock went down. Because they realize that's all it takes. Because they know that you profess being a material girl in a material world. What's wrong with that picture? My kings, when you gonna take that chip off your shoulders? Huh? You think that, well, you know what, because the last lesson that you didn't learn, you're gonna turn that and add that into your bob gun, and you're gonna say, well, you know what? I'll be damned if I let the next one do me that way. And you make a decision to go out and wreck any woman you get your hands on. You come out the gate. But see, you also know this. You know you can't do that with someone that sees their worth, because your mind ain't ready for that. So what do? You prey upon those that have low self-esteem. You brag and you coerce those that have isolation issues. You stalk and manipulate those that are separated from their dads. And you keep running this game until they wake up and see you for who you are. And what do? You pull from your bench. Yeah, you do. You say, well, you know what? The sex was good, but her attitude sucks, and I'm going to go ahead and call little Shay Shay. See, Shay Shay just wants companionship, but see, Shay Shay don't know herself. So Shay Shay gives whatever Shay Shay has, and that's her body. Because you turn around and play the role the role of the knight. Don't you realize this world is full of knights, but there's only a very few kings. The kings is one that knows themselves. But mind you, there are some kings that don't know God. And those are the ones that end up falling short. God didn't waste his breath when he said, I know you not. But he also knows this. Just like the devil, because the devil learned from God, he also knows this. You know, like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, when they came out with the message, and he said, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying hard not to lose my head. See, he knows that he can shut you down like that. He knows that. But he doesn't want to destroy his greatest gift, his greatest creation, which is you. So he gives you a pass. Oh, yeah. Think about that last disappointment, that last situation that got you hemmed up. And you said, if I get out of this, I'll never do this again. But that devil ran in between and picked you off. And the lesson didn't stick. So now you say, I'm a tough guy now because I got a piece of steel. As long as I got this piece of weight, ain't nobody gonna rain on my parade. Little do you know, it's raining inside. I know I'm talking to someone. See, as long as you keep listening to what's outside your door, you'll never embrace your steps. That pulls you further and further for who you really are. What about them dreams you got? What about them natural gifts that you were born with? These are things came from the realm of the spirit. I ain't got to tell you that. What about that little boy that said, one day when I grow up, I want to do fill in the blank? What about him? You sitting over there scratching your head like, well, you know, life got me this way, Joe. No, your choices got you this way. When you gonna stop lying to yourself? You mad at every man that walks around with a smile on his face. Your temperament is such dark, and it's fortified by your little girlfriends. She uses bad behavior as inspiration to covertly brainwash you because she knows as long as you stay loyal to her, you'll do her bidding. Oh, yes. Yes, she will. But secretly, you mad because every time you look in the mirror, your vagina don't look so right now, do it? The bruises that the concealer has covered up ain't working. The discoloration that's coming from inside is yelling for your attention, and silently you suffer. You say, well, Gerald, I got to do what he asked me to do because if I don't, he's going to go upside my head. Or worse, he'll be so covert about it. He likes to hit me where people can't see. Some of y'all living a life like Tyler Perry Family Reunion. I know y'all seen it. You see glimmers, snapshots of yourself on that screen. That's why Tyler's such a success. Because these things happen every day. And you say to yourself, well, you know what? I'll just hold on to him for a little bit longer and then I'll turn around and make my escape. Don't you realize you can never leave that man until you put God in your life first? He has boasted with such aggression. He's actually taken a gun and put it to your head and said, if you ever leave me, I will kill you. How are you a hostage in your own home? But more importantly, if there was love in there and blessings, why is this happening? I know I'm talking to someone. But he's got your family fooled. Yes, he does. Because he rides the best of the best. He shows generosity covertly masked under manipulation. And they don't understand you because they say, you would be a fool to leave him. When you gonna get tired of sleeping with your demon? But this is funny. I say this loosely though. Some of y'all are actually plotting right now. You are in a relationship that is not blessed, but you think, well, you know what? If I go and tiptoe in the darkness with Charlie, he'll help me escape my burdens with Larry. How wrong? How wrong? Don't you realize that's like jumping out of the grease into the fire? Because see, guess what? Sitting in the cut is that Jezebel spirit. I told you, Jezebel spirit don't want nothing to do with love because that's an extension of God's mercy on your life. So she's gonna make sure that you are positioned to be around that person that gonna keep it popping. Come on now. What's the flavor of the month now, Queens? Now everybody wants to see if you can squirt. Last time I checked, you're not found on Toys R Us. So why are you playing the squirt gun? But yet you think, well, if I sacrifice my body, he will see my loyalty. But in turn, he gives me nothing but pain. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Does it surprise you you walk around with such confusion, such anger? You so broken inside. Anytime you see someone showing terms of affection, you get repulsed. You get repulsed. You actually say, he's a sucker. She's a fool. But deep down inside, under those layers and layers of disappointment, of shame, pain, in the darkness, your spirit screams for true intimacy. See, that's what intimacy is, y'all. Intimacy is not how many orgasms can come in a session. Intimacy is being connected by the spirit. I know I'm talking to someone. Oh yeah, he can get your rocks off, but he can't lay them to make the foundation. He's quick to give you 1,001 excuses on tomorrow, tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow, but you don't see it in his actions for him. Now, I know somebody's saying, well, Jerry, why you keep focusing on relationships so much? Why do you always bring up the shortcomings of women? I do it for two reasons. Number one, I'm educating you on things that you don't know. And I'm also showing you that these are not women. These are little girls in women's bodies. That's why you see the contrast today. That's why you see so many women in their late 40s, 50s, 60s have a prude-like disposition because these women, instead of trying to open their hearts and heal, turned up their nose and said, well, you know what? Because I sacrificed so much, I even sacrificed my backside. Why do you think they make the Pins underwear, ladies? That brand been on the market for over 5, 6 years. Because see, they knew covertly. They didn't know how they were going to market it, but they knew eventually y'all were going to go in there. And guess what? They're making a whole lot of money because now if you sneeze too hard, you have an accident. Why? Because you are not honoring that flower. That is a flower. You know that, right? That's why it looks that way. And the only way that you can fortify that, you got to let yourself heal, baby. My young queens, stop turning to the streets for validation of who you are. Go within yourself. Allow God to yield who you're going to be. But more importantly, do not squander time. I know a lot of you are walking around pissed off, misguided, trying to find your way because you have a void inside your heart. That void will always be there until you humble yourself and have that conversation, not only with God, but build that relationship with your Father. That's why you're going through what you're going through. Because there's only one true man that is going to unconditionally love you, and that's your daddy. Your daddy can't protect you unless you let him in. Your daddy can't give you the wisdom you need to protect yourself. But guess what? That devil's banking on that. He's banking. He's banking that you're going to continually rebel. And you're going to say, well, you know what? Charlie gets me, Gerald. And because the hard times that I had, he was there the whole time. Don't you realize Charlie was there because of two reasons? One, because you are a living example of the things he has not championed. And number two, he's hoping that the payoff will be found between your legs. But unfortunately, Charlie will not be the one that will be the bearer of your other half of your life. That man will be a spiritual man. That man knows God. That man places God first before anything he does. And that man loves himself. That's why women, you will quickly throw this up when you see a man that comes out of the blue that shakes your spirit, but he doesn't acknowledge your presence. You instantly say, he must be gay. Why hasn't he acknowledged my presence? It's not that he doesn't see you. He understands that you have to grow. He also understands that if it's divinely meant for you to be in his life, guess what? He'll see you again. He'll see you again. Because God will place you or he in the same moment in time, in the intended moment, because he knows his worth. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about being conceited. It's not about being manipulative. It's about spiritually growing. You got to understand, for a man, what's at stake is his legacy. What has to be protected is his spirit, but his seed. He can't impregnate someone that will end up being hell. I mean, I'm not trying to sound negative, but some of you walking around and you have demonic spirits connected to you. You don't want to admit it, so you admit it to that prescription because you say, well, I am suffering from bipolarism. I am borderline sociopathic. I am a child of a schizophrenic family member. So, these are my flaws. Accept me for who I am. Stop dishonoring Mary J. Start honoring yourself. Because even if you want to use a template like Mary J. Blige, if anybody knows Mary's story, Mary went through a metamorphosis of finding herself. And in the price, some of it made public news. And there was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of pain. But she made a conscious decision to love herself, regardless if anyone stood beside her. She also made a conscious decision not to have kids with anybody because she valued her life. It's worth fighting for. But nobody's going to do your work. But they'll quickly distract you from it. Somebody got mad at me the other day when I made the comment about, it's gotten so carte blanche where you see a lot of young women with older guys. And the justification a lot of women say is, well, he's more mature. He's financially responsible. He's got that nest egg. He's done that work. The guys my age, they want to play around and, they want to sleep around and, they just not grounded. Take a step back. You're doing the same thing that the guys are doing. But the only problem with that is it's not your self-respect. I mean, it's not their self-respect or self-worth that is being ransomed. You think because of the fact that, oh, you met this guy online, he don't live in your area, so you gonna run out there and lay up with him, nobody will know. Guess what? That's a price. You decide to go through the gauntlet of going through the clubs, of pulling guys out of the club that don't even know your middle name just for a one night stand, only to wake up with an STD. There's a price. So now you say, well, you know what? I'm gonna swear off men and I'm just gonna lay up with Shirley. She understands me, but yet you go through more pain. I know I'm talking to someone. It's a lifestyle choice. Well, I want you to look at it for what it is. It's a choice. So when you're gonna choose to love yourself, when you're gonna choose to heal, stop taking the stopwatch and clicking and saying, well, you know what, I'm gonna give myself 3 months, get myself together. Why? Don't you want to be the best you? So then you got social people out here saying, well, I'm a born again virgin, Gerald. I done swore off, I'm not sleeping. Who you fooling? Because you got that box, you got that magical drawer. What needs to be stimulated is that spirit, that heart. When you stimulate your heart, your discernment grows. When you allow your mind to be at peace, the answers to the questions that never got answered will be revealed. Because you're building a foundation for the little girl inside of you to stand upon. I know I'm talking to someone. There's a survey that came out um, last summer, I think it was, and it said that the average woman that is in her 50s, I think it said 50s, has two men that she regrets losing. Some of us know that as the one that got away. And when the survey was asked, they said, well, knowing what you know now, knowing then what you went through, why, what did you gain from that? Said, well, one woman said, I didn't fight for me. And because I didn't fight for me, I didn't know what true integrity and honor for self was. Another lady, they asked the same thing, and her response was a little different. She said, well, I realized that God wasn't in my life. I was in a dark place. How many of y'all said that? I was in a dark place. Like that's supposed to give you a pass. And the person that I was with began to continue to grow. And they were out of reach, out of type. Their life didn't stop. But I never got over them. You know why that happens, y'all? Because God stepped in and the person got real. See, it's not your responsibility to appease your audience. Your responsibility is to be who you are. Be who you are. Be authentic. If that's who you are, why don't you claim it? So I read between the lines when I read the statement, and I realized what was going on. That person had to go through enough pain and agony before they finally had their breakthrough. And I bet you a nickel to a dime, they had resentment towards that person. And inside, they wanted them to feel the agony that they were projecting. But God stepped in and blocked it. And they continued to grow. And I know that some of y'all are dealing with that right now. You treat your relationships like the consolation prize. Well, he got a bad disposition. He's rude. And he's physically abusive. Matter of fact, I think I saw this. I saw an episode of what was it on HBO? Taxi Cab Confessions. There was a scene. They were in New York, and the cab driver picked up this young woman. Right? She could have been no more than 25. And she's taking her somewhere. And as they get halfway through the trip, she gets on the phone and she calls her girlfriend. Girlfriend comes down, gets in the car, and the girlfriend said, "You really gonna do this?" She said, "Yep, I'm gonna do this." So the driver's proceeding down to where she's supposed to end up. And so the cab driver's like, "So you going out tonight?" And she said, "No, I'm going out to catch my cheating boyfriend. And if he's over there with that girl, oh, I'm gonna stab his ass." It's like, "Oh, I know I shouldn't be telling you this." So the cab driver trying to intervene and saying, "Well, if this man has done you so wrong, why are you putting yourself in that scenario?" You know what she said? She said, "Because he loves me and I love him." Even though this man had put her in the hospital 3 times, pistol whipped her, broke her arm, she would not leave him alone. So the cab driver said, "Listen," and I've echoed this too. So don't you understand that love don't hurt? So you're willing to throw away your life for someone that won't value it. And you could see the processing over on her face as he said it. I believe God put that guy in there and was speaking through that guy. And she said, "Well, who am I to let him be happy with her?" So he turned around and said, "So two wrongs make a right, right?" I said, "No." But then he said, "Well, think about it. You go down there and you cause a scene. You know this man's behavior, but yet you're willing to throw it all away." Her justification was, "I know, but I love him." That's not love, y'all. That's not love. We attract what we are. My point being is, why are you in a scenario where you know the truth, but you try to make an effort to change it? Come on now. And when you dig a little deeper, the girlfriend should have stepped up and said, "Hey, look, you know what? Uh-uh." But mind you, on the way there, she told the cab driver, "Well, he's cheated on me and I cheat on him." But yet they wouldn't leave each other alone. And she told the guy, "I know that he's going to come after me. He told me he would shoot me." Come on now. That ain't your life, y'all. That ain't your life. But I know that's somebody's reality right now. You know what I'm talking about. You go out, and there's always that club. There's always that couple. She pulling on him. He hitting on her. They fighting in the parking lot. And then 30 minutes later, they're all sucking face. And when you try to intervene in that, they jumping on you. That is what we know is a karmic relationship. Ain't no love in that. That's why I'm a firm believer. People come into your life to be your lesson or your blessing. But if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what matters most, you'll never see where you're going. Come on, Queen. Listen, when you going to lift your head up from that shame? That's why I keep telling you, stop going looking for your mate. Every time you do that, You're going to only attract despair because God don't need your help to bring the right one in your life. You say to yourself, well, Gerald, he got money, but you priceless. You tell him all the time, why won't you make love to me? It's because he don't love himself. You've actually had the audacity to tell this person, you, you sleep with me like a prostitute. That's because that's all he knows. So birds of a feather, that's right, flock together. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. When you're going to free yourself from yourself and stop doing time in your mind, the moment that you stop using your body, your intimacy as a means to navigate your life, that's when your life will be made new. Come on now. Ain't no prostitutes out here saying, hey, I made it. I got everything I wanted without a price. That's why when you see them, you see women out there that engage in promiscuous behavior. They're worn. They're worn down. You see it in their eyes. You see it in their face. You see it in their body. Doesn't matter how you nip, tuck, move, shift. Because let me tell you something. The one thing you can't move is your heart. The second thing that you can't alter is your DNA. And guess what? Eventually, your body says, this is supposed to go here. That is supposed to go there. This does not belong here, and I don't know what this is. And guess what happens? That's right. Your body goes into shock and you die. That's why when you look at the women on TV, they all look like they're made from metal. Just ask yourself this. If they truly saw their worth, do you actually think they would be willing to exploit themselves just for a paycheck? Come on now. See your worth. When you see your worth, you'll genuinely see how beautiful you really are. Kings, let me tell you something. The woman that's going to be in your life will be a virtuous woman. She will be like your rib. She will know her worth, speak her truth, but guess what? She'll place God first before anything. And she has no problem walking alone to protect it. Be blessed, y'all. Love to hear from you. And most importantly, y'all, I know some of y'all dealing with depression. You know why you're dealing with depression? Because the person inside is fighting for you to be authentic. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be treasured. You deserve to be honored. And God's got that. But God is not going to allow you to squander those good memories, those things that make up who you really are. Nah, can't do that. The price with that comes walking away from the people in the cheap seats and honoring your name. Remember, there are people that are going to come behind the path you've made, and the lessons and experiences that you have embraced will be their wisdom and knowledge. So if anything, you do yourself a disservice by not being the best you. But worse, because it's behind closed doors, don't think they don't know. Don't think that. Protect your babies. by grounding your feet. But more importantly, don't you think it's time that you get that second opinion? Come on now. You're not supposed to be sitting in the darkness. Go talk to a therapist. Go talk to a counselor. The worst thing they can do is say, hey, you got it going on. Continue to grow, or they will show you something new. God loves you, but it's up to you to love yourself. Be blessed.